Hey everybody. Well, I'm finally going to be doing the pop culture tarot card oracle card videos because I think this is such an interesting topic. It has a lot of potential and a lot of things that also have to be put into detail. So first off, it's all about visualization. The wonderful thing about tarot, oracle, and other forms of cards is that it is all about the imagery. Some images can stir our hearts, and others, don't do anything to us. So imagery is important. Now, personally, I prefer tarot over oracle because tarot is very well defined. Each card kind of has its own specific meaning, although artwork can give you a second interpretation, yes. But I love the fact that there's reasons, the defined reason for behind each card in a tarot deck. However, on the flip side, Oracle has flexibility. No two people's Oracle decks are going to be the same. I mean, there are hundreds of Oracle decks out there. And so you can hopefully find one that fits what you're trying to work with, what you're trying to adapt to your magical practices. Now, before we continue anymore on Oracle decks, I have to talk about good old Doreen Virtue. There is a flip side, a danger side for using Oracle decks. Doreen Virtue has made many decks. The last time I checked, she had like 13, maybe more decks out there. And so when I talk about pop culture magic, we're talking about taking the shared energies from each image, from each card. And the problem is, if you have a deck that was made by or influenced by Doreen Virtue, there are going to be a lot of people that have some negative views on that, because there are a lot of people that feel that Doreen Virtue stabbed them in the back, betrayed them, and all that. And so it could be a beautiful card, but because Doreen Virtue had her influence on it, there could be some hatred towards her work, her cards, and thus that card could have some hate or the reverse feelings that you want in that energy for that card. So you might want to stay away from Doreen Virtue decks, okay? And pretty much you can use any image that you want and when you're doing this type of work, because you can create your own Oracle deck. I mean, everybody else has, you can too. The most important thing is the visualization that you get from it and how it makes you feel. Like I said earlier, some cards motivate us to amazing things. So we can use any card and visualize it. But with pop culture cards like the Tarot and Oracle decks, we have shared energies with it, because there's going to be hopefully thousands of people that saw this one card and think, oh, that's so cool. So that's the purpose there. So let's go look at some cards and all that. I'm going to start off with a set of Oracle cards. There's 4 decks. This is from a deck by Amy Brown. First one is Manifestation. Now think about that. That's a great thing. Sometimes we need to manifest our efforts. We need to, get everything going, and we need some type of inspiration. Manifestation. You can take this card, you can enchant it, you can empower it, you can place it on your altar, and help you manifest your goals, your dreams, your spell. Okay? Next one, Renewal. Okay, maybe you know that there's a project that's going to tax you like crazy and you need help. So one of the things that we should do in our magical work is plan for after the spell as well, because if we are going to be doing some major work, sometimes we need some help getting our butts going again. Renewal. So you can manifest it with one card, complete that task, and then pull out your renewal card, place that on your altar, light a candle or two, and meditate and renew yourself. Isn't that an interesting concept? Well, sometimes life is hard, so we're going to go to the next two sets of cards here for this set. Strength. Sometimes we need strength of spirit, physical strength. You know, sometimes we need something else. And also, other people might need it. Maybe you have a friend that's going through a hard time. You could then, if you have an image of that friend, you can print that off, put that with the strength card, tie a green ribbon around them, because green is growth, and place that on your altar, and you can try to send them strength to get them through the issues that they have. Or if you're going through a problem, you could put that card on your altar and you can try to get through what you need to get through. And the final card, and it's a good card, I think, is wisdom. I mean, we can never learn enough. So if you can go out and, oops, had to check, make sure my microphone is plugged in. So we can never stop learning. We should never stop learning. And so sometimes we are going to face a dilemma and we need to know more facts, more information. There's your wisdom card. Meditate with the wisdom card on your altar to see if you can, you know, get a little bit more in there. Sometimes wisdom requires patience too. So, you know, sometimes it's not when you act is a smart thing to do. Okay? Wisdom. So, those are some ways that you can use that particular set of oracle cards. But like I said, there are so many. There are animal oracle cards and all that. And so you can use any deck as long as the image inspires you. Don't just think, well, I need a card for this and that will work. Okay. Because if you're not inspired, don't do the ritual. Because if the energy's not there, it's not going to work. And worse yet, if you force yourself into doing some magics, it will actually twist and turn against you. So you have to have the right frame of mind and spirit before you do many forms of magic. So let's talk about tarot decks here now. I use one tarot deck. I have one tarot deck. And that is the Witchcraft tarot. I love the imagery on this deck. And that is my heritage. I'm Scotch, Irish, English. A little German too. And so this deck just kind of screams at me. Yes, this deck has a lot of Wiccan influences. Yes, it does. But it has more Celtic theme, and that's what's important to me. Now, I got two things I got to say before we go into talk about some individual cards. If you are going to use your cards for magic, like I am suggesting, have two decks of the same one if you love that deck so much. You should not be using cards that you are trying to empower for spell work for readings. So you should have your reading deck and your spell deck. Okay? I think that's pretty obvious. And now the second part, and this is even more obvious, but it has to be said. All cards can be used for good or bad purposes. It depends on how well the artwork inspires you. Now there are some cards in the tarot decks that are very, I guess you could say, negative. I believe it's like the Ten of Swords that has somebody, okay, yeah, Ten of Swords. basically it has all these swords stabbed in the earth and a person, drained. Okay, there is conflict, and so you should have your cards separated, good cards from bad cards. Because if you have a card that makes you happy, you don't want to have it by a card that's meant to give somebody nightmares. Yes, they are two separate spells, but if they're right next to each other and they're both full of energy goes here and there. It flows, it vibrates, it can cross-contaminate. You can have a card that makes you happy but gives you nightmares. Yeah, okay? So it is very important that you separate cards if you're going to be using them for spell work. What I am doing is I am going to be creating two piles. I have two plastic containers. I believe in insulation, where I'm going to put cards that have a negative effect on me or others in one container, and one that has positive effects on me or others in another container. Okay? This is my way of keeping my cards from cross-contaminating each other. Alright. So I selected 3 cards earlier, and I got them right here. The general is, I'm just going to tell the general definition of them. Okay. First one is the King of Wands. Now this is, in my mind, a card that could be used to represent you or a person you want to be. Because now the King of Wands is an ideal person to be in charge of an organization. He can hold the vision and inspire others to cooperate with him with his enthusiasm and optimism. His natural ability to be a leader, combined with his affinity for the element fire, and hence dragons, reminds us of the Pendragon of Arthurian legend and a druid ritual. Okay, right there. That is a leadership. So maybe you are needing to develop better leadership skills. Well, here's a card that you can use. So you could take a picture of yourself, the King of Wands card, tie them together with a green ribbon, and place that on your altar, and hopefully those traits can grow on you and you can become a better person. Okay? Interesting thought, I know. Alright, and when we're going to go to a negative type card, this is the Nine of Swords. Its meaning: finding this card in a reading signifies mental anguish and suffering. It refers to those very darkest periods in our lives where we experience the deepest sorrow. These times almost always involve relationships and our feelings of love. And so this card may indicate the torment we go through when a love affair or marriage ends, or when we suffer bereavement, or are separated in some way from our partner. The card refers not so much to the event itself, but our experience of it, to this dark night of the soul that we find ourselves in. Okay. So, bad part about this is, let's just say somebody's bothering you, and so you are wanting them to be disrupted so that they can focus on you. Well, here's the perfect card for it, the Nine of Swords. Take that picture, a picture of them, the Nine of Swords, and maybe a black ribbon, maybe a black candle if you feel extra evil, and put that on your altar, or a small side altar like I have, and make them go through a night of sorrows. Okay? Okay. It's about feeling the pain. And if you're feeling pain and anguish like what this card represents, it's hard to focus on other people. Thus, it will protect you, and it could be a non-harmful way to get vengeance on somebody that's causing you troubles. Okay? Now the final card is one I love. It's actually one of my favorite cards for spell work, and that is the Two of Swords. I just love the artwork, don't you? I should say, I hope you do. Now the meaning. Two views, two feelings, or two people are at opposition, or yourself at opposition. And you are trying to create a reconciliation, peace, or harmony between them. You may well achieve peace temporarily, but it is likely going to be an uneasy one. And meanwhile, the storm clouds are repressed feelings and unresolved issues are gathering. In the end, the clouds will break and the tension will be relieved as the conflict is finally resolved. But if you go by the artwork, you have a person who is left with the dilemma. Which route do I take? Okay. Robert Frost there again, about the road less traveled. Walked through the wood, a yellow wood, and I came across a fork in the road. Do I take the path least worn down? I believe it's the words. But you're left with the dilemma. So this card has positive because you can help somebody make the right choice by using this card in a ritual with them. Or you can be an asshole and you can invert the card with their picture, black ribbon, and put that on the altar and on your side altar, and so that they make the wrong decision. Okay? It's evil, yes, but if this disrupts somebody from attacking you, it's worth it. So that is some ways that you can use tarot cards in spell work. Again, have two decks, one for readings and another one for spell work cards, okay? Because if one card is always meant this, then for your spell work, it could change a reading, make it inaccurate. Now, you can make your own oracle deck. You can collect images, draw your own. Drawing your own is better because remember, if you do it, you put more your energy into it, which makes everything a lot more personalized. Okay, and that's an awesome thing. But you can take any images. I grabbed some images from the role-playing game that I used to love to play, Rollmaster. Now, they could, again, mean the person that you want to be. Here's a picture of a Turo Mage, which is going to be discussed in further videos. Okay, this is somebody who uses their tarot deck and the tools of a tarot deck in accomplishing his goals. Next one is somebody invoking magic, power. Okay, this could be about a ritual. You could be, as this picture to me is channeling. So this person has raised his wand, his staff, and is channeling energy to manifest his goals, which would be an interesting card, yes. And so I can incorporate that into my practices as well. Now, of course, I also talked about defensive and offensive cards. The last one on this one is a man going through a nightmare, being tortured in his dreams. Just think about how powerful that would be if you can manifest nightmares in the person that is bothering you. Okay? So, I'm going to show this. So those are images that I got for free, from my role-playing games. And all you have to do is buy something like this. This is El Cheapoid gloss photo paper. In this container right here, there's 50 sheets. Cost me $1. So I can put this into my printer, adjust the settings, and I can print off 50 of these types of images I just showed you and make my own oracle deck. Now, if you do this, you got to power up those cards. And you need to do that by doing candle rituals, energy manipulation. Um, I am going to be empowering my cards in a little extra powerful way. Through eBay, I am buying sheets of copper. These are small 1/8 inch sheets of copper that I am going to cut into smaller pieces and glue them or tape them onto the back of the cards that I'm creating to energize them. Okay? Now I am going to, by a rule that I'm placing on myself, is to make one a week. Now, yes, it means it'll take a long time for me to make all 50 cards, but I believe that you just can't print off a card off the printer and go, and I curse you. That don't work. You have to energize the card. There must be rituals involved. On the back of these cards, I am going to be putting a couple sigils, my name on it, so that I can make these cards mine and empower them. So once they are completed, then I could use them in future spell use. So that is how I am going to be making my own Oracle deck. And you could do something similar. But please remember that storing your spell cards is going to require a little bit of extra effort. I would have, like, if you got some black fabric or white fabric to separate cards, again, black if they're negative, white if they're more positive oriented cards, and put them in 2 separate piles, preferably on the outsides of rooms, so that you can store them without having too much spell seepage, cross-contamination of your cards. Okay? So we just hit the 22-minute mark, so I'm going to bring this video to an end. So everybody, please, hope you liked this video. Hopefully you learned something or thought of something different. Please put your comments below, like, subscribe. You know that routine. And take care. Be at peace.